I have oiled the crap out of this chair. I cannot get rid of that squeak, but it's a very comfortable chair, so you're just gonna have to get used to it. Hyper Pat is not here today. This is Tired Pat. I got 3 hours of sleep last night and they were on this desk. It is afternoons like this that make me remember why I resisted becoming a talking head style video blogger, because if I don't have the energy to be wildly hilarious, then I'm really not qualified to talk about anything. Not even sure if I'm qualified to talk about myself, but I guess I could try. So I was actually born here in Aurora, and I've pretty much lived here my whole life. For a little while I lived in Naperville, but that's just the next town over. I'm the fifth kid out of six kids. So in order, my siblings are Colleen, she now lives in Connecticut. Kevin and Sheila live in Los Angeles. Brian just lives over in DeKalb here in Illinois. And then the youngest brother Tim lives in Las Vegas. There was nothing very spectacular or traumatic about my childhood. It was just pretty ordinary, I guess. We were raised Catholic. I was a altar boy when I was young. I went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and then when I finally got out, kind of had a lot of catching up to do. A lot of the crazy things that high school kids do, I had never done, and so I started doing them in my late teens and early 20s. I actually didn't start smoking until I was 20 years old. By the way, just because I smoke doesn't mean you should. I will actually probably quit someday, but right now when I am focusing on a diet, I'm sorry, there's one thing at a time, one thing at a time. I think it was in 1987, I was a senior in high school, and my younger brother Tim, he's younger than me by 2 years, he started a band, and then I was recruited to be the lead singer of that band. And we called the band Public Nuisance. I think I have a picture of Public Nuisance. There is Public Nuisance. That's me. See it? This is a very tiny picture. It's our bass player, Pat Regnier. That's my brother Brian. He was our drummer. That's my brother Tim. He was the lead guitar player. So I didn't do anything but sing. That was the beginning of my generating of content that floated out into the world, and I don't know where it went or who it touched. Since 1987, this has been going on with me in several different forms of media. So Public Nuisance was together for about 3 years, maybe 2 years, and then Pat Regnier, the bass player, he quit to go to college because he's sensible. And then it was just me and Tim and Brian, so it was just the three Melody Brothers. Maybe that was 1989. But that's when I picked up the bass because we didn't have a bass player and I had two free hands, so I taught myself to play the bass well enough that we could start playing again. We got really tight and we were really awesome and we had some really great songs, but because we were three hot-headed young Irish brothers, the whole thing just flew to pieces in about a span of 6 months or something. It was just, Tim quit and he moved away to California or something. No, maybe he moved to Massachusetts. I don't know. Tim quit and he moved away. Brian wanted to stay in a band with me, but I decided I wanted to go to college too, so I went to NIU. I stayed at NIU probably 2 semesters before I dropped out. And the reason I dropped out ultimately was just at that age, I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do, because I had sort of musical talent and I had artistic talent, but I also was liked writing a lot. And in the meantime, they had this really awesome coffee house downtown in DeKalb, and I just found myself there every single night, either playing my bass or playing chess with somebody or hanging out with getting drunk. So all I did was just this whole bohemian thing while I was at college. I very rarely attended class, and academically it was a disaster. But I did meet a lot of people and a lot of other artistic people, and I made a lot of friends in that period. And I got a lot of exposure because there was a lot of open stages. There was one at the coffee house, and later on there was one at a bar across the street, and occasionally I would go into Chicago. There was a long period where I was either playing my songs at one open stage or reading my writing at some other place. Like there was a coffee house called No Exit in Chicago that me and Chris used to go to and read our stuff, and got a good reaction from the audience. And in that period, I was recorded a couple times by a couple people that I completely lost touch with, and I have no idea what happened to those. They were pretty decent recordings, and And I have no idea what happened to them, where they went. I remember there was a girl who did like a whole photo shoot of me. It's just some girl I met at the Naperville Riverwalk, and she wanted to do. And so I don't know what happened to those photographs, where the hell they went. And this is all before any internet. The internet did not exist. Cell phones did not exist. The only way back then that culture was spread was just through places like college campuses and maybe Riverwalk hangouts and coffee houses and things like that. That's how any sort of culture got passed around. So then in the mid-90s, my brother Brian started another band, and he kept bugging me, and I finally broke down and I joined his band as his bass player, and then we were like the Melody Brothers, and we did harmonies for each other. First we'd do a Pat song, then we'd do a Bry song, and the whole repertoire would go like that. That lasted for 5 years, we did that, and in that period there was a lot of tape recording and a lot of videotaping going on by a lot of people, because we were in our 20s and everybody still had a ton of friends that were coming to practices and go to the gigs and stuff like that. And so I'm sure there was a ton of material that was generated over that 5 years, a ton that is still floating around there out in the ether somewhere in people's shoeboxes and God knows where. But then after those 5 years, we never went anywhere, obviously. We never got discovered or anything like that. The band just kind of petered out. In the last maybe year or two of it, I was already trying to just record my own stuff at home on the side, because we weren't practicing very much anymore. So I took a couple tape decks and I rigged them together with an equalizer and some other stuff and created this like makeshift little 2-track ping pong recorder, and I started recording. For the first time, I was recording my own stuff, and it was really basic. It was just like 2 tracks of my voice with the bass line and some kind of a crude rhythm track. And I wrote a ton of songs in that period. I don't even know how many. I was writing songs every week, and I was recording them just as fast as I was writing them, and I was making compilation tapes. I was giving them to everybody. I was giving them all the girls that I liked, and I was giving them to people that I'd meet in different coffee houses that I would go to. I was handing out tapes left and right. Just not demo tapes, just like, oh, here's my music, here, take the tape. So I'm sure there's a lot of that stuff that's floating around. Finally, though, the late 90s came and the internet finally arrived. I probably first got online in 1998. It was this very early baby internet. It was the first time that I ever created a website to try and showcase some of my artwork. So I had a lot of drawing that I scanned and put up there, and I wanted to put my music on it, but it was not possible yet because the MP3 did not exist yet, and there was only WAV files, and the WAV file for a 3-minute song was bigger than the average hard drive. So on my website I posted a lot of drawings, but I also created a little frame on the side that had a scrolling column. And I would update it about 3 times a week, just writing about whatever's going on. And this is before the term blog was coined. The word blog didn't exist yet. I called mine a dither. I'm certainly not the first blogger, but I was one of the first. It wasn't wildly popular or anything, but people liked it and they looked forward to the next update to the dither. Finally, in the year 2000, I had my first truly decent full-time job where I was making some decent money. I was installing DSL lines and installing security cameras and stuff like that. It was the very first foray into the world of maintenance and engineering for me. And I had enough money to build a decent studio with a digital 8-track multi-tracker and some other a really good keyboard and some other decent enough good equipment to finally make some really fully produced recordings. It finally broke down in 2007. So for 7 years I recorded all kinds of stuff, and so then in 2003 I started work on a website that was only meant to showcase the music, and I had this whole vision for how it was going to be, and it's still up there today, mistook.net, this idea of the virtual album. So I wanted an idiot-proof website that you could just go to, you could listen to all the songs, you could read the lyrics while you're listening to the music, and you could, flip back and forth the front and back cover and, read the liner notes and whatever, and have it all right there, just a one-stop shop, right inside one window. For the past 9 years, this stuff has just been sitting out there online, and I never put a hit counter on that site. I have no idea if anybody has ever been there. And through all those years that I've been putting content online, I've always made sure you type into Google Pat Melody Aurora, Illinois, you always get whatever I'm doing. And I'm still struggling to find my voice out here, obviously. But I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not doing it for profit, and that's just kind of the way that I've always been. I don't think it's wrong to make a profit off of your performance or your artwork. But I guess I just have thought for a very long time that there is something to be said for the concept of just giving freely of yourself. And I don't think there's enough examples of that in the world. At any rate, if I do have any credibility out in the artistic world, that is the way that I have earned it. I'm not sure that I do, but if I have any, that is how I earned it. I doubt you ever heard my voice amid the chorus of hatred and disgust, but I desire to bring